I'm so thrilled to be here with you, Naomi, because you know how much I love talking to soul-inspired entrepreneurs and people who are really making a difference. And I have been incredibly impressed with the work you do. And thank you for showing up and just sharing more about this profound new system that you have to help people with addiction and recovery.
Oh, thank you so much, Joy. It is a complete honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's an honor. What you do is an honor. A lot of people are struggling with addiction, whether we call it that or not. But, you know, I've heard you talk about addiction. So just quick off, when you use that word, what do you mean?
So that is something that parts of us do to protect us and stop us from feeling pain. And so it might feel to the outside eye that we're doing something destructive, or that we just love pleasure, we just want to indulge ourselves, or we're just lazy or want to distract ourselves. And actually what's going on underneath, I believe, is that things feel painful. On some level, things feel painful. And so actually our bodies, our minds are trying to keep us safe from that. And so, yeah, you know, society calls it addiction. We can have some reactions to that word. It can feel like a label. It can feel like a judgment. We might have some associations with that, strong associations. And yet, you know, I put my hand on my heart and say, I myself am someone that is an addict, addicted to certain things in this world. For example, approval. The fact that you're watching this video, hoping that you're going to like this video. These can be things that I can get caught into looking for to take away my pain on the outside world, when actually I know from the work that I do that the answer is here, it's within.
What
Yes,
a
in a
beautiful,
nutshell.
yeah, yeah, I'm sure there's more to it, but I think that just kind of like, oh, my heart softens. It's like, oh yeah, well, who isn't pleasing or proving or running to food or alcohol or shopping to get away from what is painful inside? So it's pretty common. Most people have these.
Oh, yes, yes. I think that's the main message here, really, is that you are not alone. Whatever it is that you find yourself doing, those little things that you know maybe are not keeping you in a place where you're growing, you're contributing, you're changing, you're facing life in all its fullness, and yes, sometimes painfulness, but that actually just kind of take the edge off. And actually finding a way to reframe addiction so that we can take all the shame out of it is a big part of my work.
Oh,
Actually seeing it as a human condition, you know,
yeah.
this is what we do.
Yeah, that feels good. We're not alone. So let's talk about your work. You created the Freedom
Mm.
Steps, and it's unique and it blends some different modalities, and it's working. You're helping tons of people. So what are the Freedom Steps, or what's the system you're using to support people?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. So I'm someone that's actually had a lot of experience and recovery myself, working through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I got to a certain stage with my own sobriety, my own abstinence, feeling that I'd worked through issues with food and drugs and alcohol and relationships, you know, so on so many levels I had so much more calm and peace. And yet
Mm.
underneath this so-called sobriety, I was struggling, I was still feeling pain and still feeling a sense of I need other people's approval in order to feel okay about me, about Naomi. And I'm so grateful that I found the work of internal family systems and retrained as an internal family systems therapist, and also looked more deeply into some of the 12-step programs that are addressing the work of the child. So the child inside, the one that actually got hurt, and for whom the 12 steps as they're written doesn't heal. In fact, it can even be shaming. So for parts of us, those inner addicts, those, I guess, those ones that are feisty, that are out there to protect us, distract us, you know, they can be a bit of a saboteur, you know, they can sneak that extra glass of wine or bar of chocolate. For those ones, actually, the 12 steps can be very helpful. And then for those more vulnerable parts that already have a ton of guilt and shame about who they are, and fear about what they went through, those ones that hold those memories from our childhood, for those ones, the 12 steps are not so helpful. And I could see this in working with others, and I knew I needed to bring the love and the care of internal family systems that holds that child and whose motivation is to help us hold that child within ourselves and integrate that with something structured like 12 steps, which I think can be helpful to have kind of a spiritual progression through a program.
So what's really striking me is there's a bringing compassion to these little kids or these shameful parts. And I know you talk about the different aspects of us that do have the compulsion to jump outside and drink or have the chocolate bar, or go shopping or get in our heads. And you've talked about before, I've heard you say something about white knuckling. Like, so what you're doing is not teaching people to white knuckle.
Absolutely.
Then what's the difference in like, what do you mean really, what do you mean when we bring compassion to the shame? What does that
Right.
look
I
like?
actually believe that unless we can get to those layers or those levels where we're actually contacting the memories, those children, the things that happened to us back there, that the places where actually there's pain still that are actually causing us to go to the chocolate or the wine, etc., or to our iPhones to distract. That actually when we find a way to be with those and feel safe with them in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming, that's when we're actually going from white knuckling, which might be the paradigm of I'm on a diet, or I'm just going to swear off alcohol, or I'm giving up for Lent, and it's really hard. We're shifting away from the efforting of needing to kind of stay on the straight and narrow into a place where actually we don't want to harm our bodies, because we know that we are our children of God, if you like, or if you don't like the word God, children of the universe, to be loved, to be nurtured, to be cared for. So to actually hurt that being through smoking or through overworking or pushing ourselves it's just not congruent anymore. It just feels so against the rhythm. And we need to actually have an in-depth experience of ourselves in those vulnerable places to know that actually we can't go back to treating ourselves in these ways that are so against self-care actually.
So what you do is you actually support people in finding that within themselves. I know a lot of people get addicted to therapy because the therapist can bring that compassion, but without the counseling or the group, it's useless. And so am I on track here that you're empowering people to actually have that new muscle of self-love, self-compassion?
Absolutely. I mean, I might be talking myself out of a job here, but essentially I'm dispensable as a therapist, and that's the way I think it is most healthy. My role is to facilitate a deeper connection between the person that I'm working with and their parts. So that includes their so-called addicted part, the one that reaches for that chocolate or that wine. That part definitely needs to be included in this process. It needs to be on board and feel comfortable and safe. That actually, if it stops doing that thing that it's always done to take the pain away, that pain is not going to overwhelm and flood the system. It's not going to be bad news emotionally for us. And so for that, we really need to find a way to, in small manageable steps, find out a little bit more about what's going on under the surface and help that person be like a channel of love to those younger parts of us. I sometimes think of the Trinity, I don't think of Father and Son because I'm a woman, but the mother and the child and the Holy Spirit. And I think that's what we're looking for as humans. That's our spiritual work in this lifetime, is to channel love to those hurting younger places within ourselves.
Wow. And I feel that. I'm just feeling it in your presence. I'm so grateful you're doing this. I have maybe one last question.
Go for it.
So what about the hopelessness? People that have been struggling for so long with the same addictive behavior. And there is, you're right, there's tons of shame. Mm-hmm. And someone's overweight. And I know you work a lot with food issues and people who have body image issues. And so the freedom steps, I'm getting a feel for the system, but there can be deep hopelessness. Is this one more thing? Is it really going to work? What do you do when you meet hopelessness in a client?
Yeah, really great question, because I think there needs to be an eyes wide open about this. Oftentimes when, for example, a woman comes to me and she's just so desperate to break out of these negative cycles of overeating, for example, dieting, just swinging between depriving herself and then feeling that she's breaking all the rules and going into indulging, and then all that shame and self-hatred. And so, yeah, before she finds the work of the Fab Freedom steps, she may actually feel already quite discouraged. There may even be parts of her that don't even want to try the work. You know, they don't actually want to do the deep dive because they feel like this is going to be another merry-go-round or roller coaster ride of hope and excitement and enthusiasm at the beginning, and then a sense of hopelessness as we see that actually, you know, maybe the patterns still continue and it's not an overnight matter. And so there can be that discouragement. And so that sense of not wanting to really do the deep dive can lead to some procrastination and a sense of perfectionism as well. Like I've had people literally just go overboard, and then parts of them will kind of shut off, feeling like this is a bit too much. And so I think it's so important as a therapist and as a coach and as someone working in groups to create these positive changes, to really know about those hopeless parts and know that they are stoppers within us because they don't want us to get disappointed oftentimes. They don't want us to feel hurt or discouraged or like a failure. And so to really include them and to help them feel like change is possible. And it actually isn't this huge, great, big, hard-working effort. It's actually a consistent, daily, piecemeal, manageable and bite-sized, achievable thing for anyone. I mean, really, you know, if I can do it hand on heart, as somebody that was so wrapped up in those cycles of binge and fast and, you know, different weights, then I know that anybody can do this with the right support and with the right awareness of their different parts and how those parts are trying to keep them safe and accepting those parts.
Yeah, that last statement is kind of where I was sitting, is that there's such freedom in recognizing that the hopelessness, I'm not hopeless, it's a part of me.
Right.
There's a part that's hopeless, or there's a perfectionist part. And so it feels welcoming to have a conversation with those aspects of myself. And what you're proposing here, to me, it seems like freedom from the addiction, but like maybe even just personal freedom. And that it gives people an opportunity to just, wow, imagine a new life where we're more fully integrated.
Right, absolutely. Because if we are so used to, on some level, feeling hopeless about ourselves and our capacities to change, that almost becomes our association with who we are. You know, and even though on some level I know we still have hope of change because we keep coming to these programs or we keep buying that next book, you know, we there's a part of us that really is inspired and wants to change and see that other people are changing and growing and receiving health and vibrancy. But if on some level we have that part that doesn't feel the hope, then it can be like trying to drive with the brakes on, you know, or the handbrake on. It's like we can go with so much more ease and flow when we include all parts of us and hear their fears and actually appreciate all that hard work that they're doing to try and keep us safe. You know, that's my true intention, is that all our parts have that same valuable intention to try and keep us safe and away from pain.
Well, congratulations on creating the freedom steps and the system, and thank you for what you're doing to support people and to introduce this compassionate, energetic into therapy. Yeah.
It's such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Oh, we could go on. I'm thrilled with the messages that you are giving and the empowerment that you're offering. And so how can people find out more about your system or working with you?
Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to post some links underneath this video so they can get in contact with me that way. I'm going to post my website so that they can find out how to download a free guide, just have a little browse through the website and just listen to their bodies about what feels right for them when seeking that next step in their own recovery journeys. Because, you know, the head can get quite complicated, but my sense is that when we sink below the neck, into the heart, into the belly, actually there are some answers there and there's some peace and clarity there that can guide us through. So really look forward to connecting with anyone for whom this video has resonated and created like a yes inside.
Yes, and yes to all the beautiful love that you're bringing. Thank you, Naomi. It's been so fun.
Thank you so much, Joy. Wonderful to connect with you today.
Bye-bye.